Thanks, David. David used to be my boss. Thank you for not firing me. Much appreciated. Good morning. Let's start with a little bit of audience participation. Don't worry, I'm not going to get you to touch anyone. It'll be fine. What I would like to know is where you get your podcasts from. So, quick show of hands. Do you use Apple Podcasts? Okay. Spotify? Okay. BBC Sounds. Spot the BBC contingent in the room. YouTube. Okay. Or something else. Okay, good. The answer is you're all wrong. You should be using Global Player, obviously. But what's interesting, actually, is Edison Media Research tells us that Spotify has 33% of podcast users in the UK. YouTube has 20%, BBC Sounds has 15%, and Apple has 13%. So the standout number from that is this for me. 20% of UK podcast consumption is on YouTube. That means people are watching their podcasts. Second most interesting thing, use of a smart TV for podcast consumption has doubled in the last year. So that means that people are sat in their living room watching podcasts like we used to watch linear TV in the old days. So this is confusing. We started with radio, then we started doing audio-only podcasts, then we started pointing cameras at podcasts, and what did we get? I don't know, cheap TV maybe? Now production values are going up, podcasts have got nice sets and lighting, and what are we making now? TV again. Or is it something else? And why am I telling you this? Just simply because it sets the scene for why we've invested so heavily at Millbank. And that's the story I'm going to tell you today. So this is the studio we built in 2020. And I talked at TechCon that year about the challenges that we faced. I think we originally thought this was just going to be a simple contribution studio into LBC at Leicester Square. But what's actually happened since then is we've been producing quite complex standalone shows from what's actually a very tiny control space. Basically, the guys are sat in a corridor. And the teams that work there, they haven't had any desk space to sit at. So we ended up taking some office space in a building around the corner where the Andrew Marr team work from, which has got a bit ridiculous by this point. We've now got so many locations. And there was a desire to expand, and as luck would have it, space became available on the lower ground floor in the worst office in the world. This space was occupied by building surveyors, and it was really uninspiring. It was dark and dingy, and it was below ground level. We took the company CEO and the company owner in for a walk around, and I thought, there's no way this is going to appeal at all. But as we left, he said, well, I think that's great. Let's take it. It's a great place to build some studios in. But it was big, more than 4 times the space from the other unit. So we did a basic space planning exercise, which showed we could actually pack in 2 studio spaces, similar in size to the existing space, with accompanying control spaces, podcast studio, and some down-the-line interview booths, and a decent-sized production office as well. The 2D plan is then made up into 3D with the excellent SketchUp skills of Robbie Linstead, who was the delivery manager on this project and indeed most of our studio projects. And inspired by the team from the BBC who spoke last year about using VR in the design of the BBC Radio 2 studio, we absolutely did try this out on a headset. And that was extremely useful in understanding the sight lines and also allowed us to make some adjustment to window sizes. And in fact, in most cases, we managed to make the windows a bit smaller, which really pleased the building contractor. If you have the opportunity to do this in any project that you're doing, I highly recommend it. It shows up so many things that you wouldn't spot otherwise. So we gave a similar treatment to the set to check the camera shots. This is the work of our internal design team. It was a really important step as the LED background's so expensive that you want to make sure that you're going to get coverage in all of the spaces that you expect. And if you have a look on this slide, you can see we're also showing the camera shots from the existing studio in the bottom left. And very importantly, also what the vertical crop might look like, which is where all of the social content goes. So we appointed some contractors, and this was interesting for us because it brought into play two companies we've not worked with before. Recording Rooms won the construction tender, and this was something really new for them, as they're most used to creating high-end recording studio spaces, but they were really excited about the challenge. IPE won the broadcast systems integration tender after doing a great job of translating my specification into an actual technical design. And Media Powerhouse, who we've worked with for many years, provided the studio set, LED screens and lighting. There's a lot going on this slide, I know, but if you can split your head into three pieces, you'll see what's going on. So Mark from Recording Room sent a walk-around video every Friday when this became essential viewing in our office. You can see three stages here, starting with the first partitioning going in week 4, acoustic treatment being installed in week 16, and by week 22, IPE's tech install is well underway. If you look closely in the middle, you'll see Ben Relf, who sat in the middle here today, doing some wires. I have to recognise that we made all of the contractors work on site together at the same time, which doesn't always go well, but on this occasion, they got on great. Almost no arguments. So what did we create? This is PCR1, which is the control room for Studio One. And this replicates the audio control system from the LBC team are used to from Leicester Square. And that's really important because it allows the teams to move between the two buildings with comfort and with minimal training. Based around an Axia Quasar mixer, and there's some Telos Infinity talkback panels there for talkback, obviously, and we also make producer listen panels out of them. There's several multi-view displays that you can see at the top there, and the guys can select different sources as they need them. This is the Tech Ops seat. We use Zeta for playout. Burley's the newsroom system. Bionic Studio for phone calls and OS switching. And if you look closely in the middle there, there's a Stream Deck Studio panel, which is one of their new products. We started experimenting with those and the button software that's behind them in this project and found them incredibly powerful. So we've used those quite extensively for macro control and also router control. Really worth looking at if you haven't so far. There's also proper mic in here, so it could be used for self-op. And it was always in the back of our mind, actually, this is quite close to Leicester Square, so you know what, they wouldn't be happy, but we could drop a presenter from Hart into here if we needed to in an emergency. This is the vision control desk at the back of that room. Video systems based around a Ross Ultrix router. It's all SDI, very boring, sorry, but the cost versus benefit of going 2110 in here is such a self-contained space, it just didn't add up, unfortunately. Ross Carbonite switcher, VisRT graphics system. There's a Technopoints robotics system in the studio for the cameras. Panasonic PTZ heads. Ross Media I/O for ingest and playback. And again, you can see more of these Stream Deck Studio panels in there. This is in the studio, set by Media Powerhouse. The set's actually made up of sections of high-res LED display and low-res sections with a fabric face on them. And that serves two purposes, really. It's an acoustic feature, so it breaks up this big swathe of hard surface in the room. And also, it just creates a bit of different texture in the background of the camera shots for interest. Microphones, we spent ages trying to figure out the best way of mounting these microphones in as low a profile way as possible. And in the end, we've opted for this, which is probably the most boring, but it did involve an afternoon in the basement of Leicester Square with a can of white Hammerite to make those. But, you know, they do what they're meant to do. If you look in this image, you can also see the window through into the control space. This is really important to the presenters. You know, in most TV studios, the gallery could be, you know, completely unconnected to the room that the studio's in. But we've been told really directly how important it is to the presenters and how much they missed it in the other Millbank space. Presenters got access to 2 PCs, and there's many screens around there for displays from news channels or anything else that they need to watch. Notice there's a cue script prompter there right in front of the presenter for auto cue purposes. And down here, this funky looking button box. In Leicester Square, we put a wedge of mixer in the furniture for the presenter to operate phone calls. This wasn't wanted here for cosmetic purposes, but the guys still really wanted to have some control. So there's a button box there that the guys can turn TBUs on and off with and do talkback functions. And that's had a mixed reception, but it does what they need to do. Podcast studio. Pretty much identical to the room in Leicester Square that the news agents use, but there's 5 PTZ cameras in there, and we capture the camera ISOs into a piece of software called Justin. We do a bit of audio shuffling in the router, so all of the ISOs get the correct microphone in it, and the guys use a plugin called Autopod in Adobe Premiere to create automatic edits of podcasts. This is really important because some of these records go on for hours and it's so much material to get through, and that gives them a running start. And of course, the best bits, the racks room. Here's some racks, beautifully finished by IPE. There's 6 48-port Arista switches in this room. They're pretty full. There's a lot going on. And also a Proxmox cluster that's running several utility servers and bits of containerized software. We're using a pair of 2 WCOM codecs to contribute into the global audio transit network. And there's dark fibre with an optical mux on it between here and Leicester Square for vision feeds. We've also got ties to ITV at Millbank and also out onto College Green for OB use. To give you a better idea of the space, I'd just like to let Lewis Goodall from the news agents show you around in this short video.
I'm joining you live from our brand new upgraded home here in Millbank, the heart of Westminster. We're, of course, literally a stone's throw away from Parliament, where all the political headlines are being made. And these brand new studios is where we at Global will be breaking them. We begin this reception area here, a sofa just handily located for any government minister just to centre themselves before going to be monstered by Nick Ferrari. And if they want to look good while they're being monstered, then they can just come in here, get a quick hair and makeup check. Even the old presenter can do it as well, not that we all need it. And I don't need it, do I? No? She didn't say anything, doesn't matter. If I were an MP, I could go in this down-the-line studio here, where, of course, if you're doing the morning media around, you can just go down the line, you can easily talk direct to any LBC, indeed any global studio in the UK or around the world. Now, down this corridor here, this is where, for my money, I think the LBC Westminster operation really levels up. 2 upgraded, count them, not just 1, 2 upgraded, reimagined studios built to match the authority, the pace, the polish of the conversations we lead on air and on screen. Look at the size of this control room. We've actually upgraded significantly to mirror the main LBC control room in Leicester Square, so it will be much easier for shows to move between locations. There's also a separate production office that will allow larger teams to work out of the building. But that is not all. Oh, no, because if we just go around the corner, we might just find, I've got a sneaky feeling, well, I hope they're there, might just find one of our own LBC teams in a brand new LBC studio where so many shows will come from, just ready to go live. Oh, they told me it was Ian Dale and Sheila Fogarty, but it's the 2 of you.
New and improved.
We've got Andrew Marr and our own LBC political editor, Natasha Clark. So what's going on today?
Jon Sopel, lovely to see you. And now for some breaking news from inside the building. From now on, Tonight with Andrew Marr comes from this new studio, this new chair. So too does Sunday with Lewis Goodall. The bigger election coverage will be bringing you flagship shows like Call the Cabinet and Call Keir, all moving in here. The desks now on wheels, built for flexibility, not just formality.
And for full disclosure fans, don't panic. The podcast corner has been replaced with a brand new studio across the hall, ready for back-to-back recordings.
Millbank is ready.
Are you?
So what did we learn? Well, one of the themes from TechCon last year was that PTP clocking can be hard and hard to get right. I have to tell you, actually, in this project, that actually worked first time. Switches are all configured in boundary clock mode and we get super tight PTP. But we've been transitioning our broadcast network to Arista hardware. It's been a great experience, but we know that most manufacturers test against Cisco. So when you're integrating equipment from several different suppliers, inevitably some issues come up. And we found several, mostly around multicast and actually some of the really basic IGMP messaging that happens. So my tip number 1 learned from this project, get a net tap. Now, I didn't even know these were a thing until about a year ago, to be quite honest with you. But some of this stuff's incredibly hard to troubleshoot, and anything that makes it easier is worthwhile. So a net tap will let you take a capture without needing a switch port mirror. You plug it in line with the device that you're interested in, And it'll capture info that your device NIC driver might strip out, for example, VLAN tags. We spent the best part of 2 weeks trying to understand why the mixer in the studio would drop a particular source whenever a listen key on a talkback panel was cancelled. Turns out just one type of IGMP message that the mixer was sending had a VLAN tag on it, which was causing the switch to bin it. It was literally like looking for a needle in a haystack. And we couldn't have got there without one of these, and also some really good support from Arista. This is just an example showing a very boring capture from one of the Millbank mixers. Not the most exciting part of any project, but in the IP world, this seems to be the sort of troubleshooting we're into. Often ask myself, was everyone happier when everything was analog? I don't know. I should make it clear, this isn't just one manufacturer on the naughty list. We found really niche problems in several different products from several different manufacturers. And I think what makes the difference, or what makes the standout between suppliers, is how quickly they can turn around a fix and get it to you. Second thing, noise. It happens at different times. So recording rooms acoustician did a very, very diligent job in taking pre-designed noise measurements. He took recordings over several hours in different conditions in all of the spaces, and I even watched him walk up and down the street outside in a pair of tap dancing shoes just to check for foot noise coming in from the pavement outside. But when we took measurements after the construction, we found that one of the rooms doesn't meet the NR25 criteria we'd specified. And this was a real puzzle, especially as every time I listened myself, it sounded fine. Then we discovered that Studio 2 is actually built above the landlord's pump room. Turns out they have 2 pumps. Pump number 1, perfectly quiet, and runs on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Pump number 2, you've guessed it, noisy as hell, and runs on a Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And sadly, we dropped unlucky with the days the pre-construction tests were done. So we're now working with a landlord to try and resolve that. But until now, a Cedar noise reduction unit is doing a great job of masking the noise from that studio. You would never know. So if you're testing for noise, do it on multiple days of the week, different times if you can. Finally, use Node-RED. I feel like this has been a bit of a dirty secret of ours for a while, but it's time to share. Node-RED is an open source product, and there are installers available for several OSs. You can even run it on a Raspberry Pi. Primarily, it's a drag and drop, no code environment that you can use to interface different devices together. We've used this in a multitude of ways. Steve Clark's done all the work on this at Millbank, and he made this screen capture just to give you a flavour of what Node-RED looks like and what it does. It feels like almost everything you buy now has a REST API, and at Millbank we've been using Node-RED to act as a glue between Axia's Pathfinder system and things like the tablet displays outside the studio, which have a nice LED ring you can illuminate to show Mike live. We've used it to provide remote starts of our ROS Media I/O system from the Quasar mixer, and even to translate messages from the motion detection in the security cameras to turn lighting in the rooms on and off. You can drag from a list of predefined nodes on the left-hand side and build quite complex flows to do just about anything. Node-RED has quite a bit of traction in the IoT and home automation world, so if there's something that you're trying to do, most likely someone's done it before. ChatGPT is also an excellent advisor on this. One of the most useful things in our environment is any member of the team can troubleshoot, debug, and make changes without having to access our source code or have any specific development experience. And this can all be done visually. We've actually got a really big install of this at Leicester Square, and we've tipped all of our middleware and glue software into it. It's really reliable, really lightweight. If you haven't used it, I really suggest you give it a go. So that's basically all I wanted to share with you today. So hopefully we've got some time left over for questions.
Round of applause for Jon. Thank you, sir.